Hello, movie patient, and welcome to Film Therapy. I am Brienne, also known as Miss Movies, also known as your film therapist. I am not a real therapist, but I play one on the internet just for the show. And as always, I have a patient for each session, and my patient today is Jason Inman. Welcome. Come take a seat. Are you listening? Um,
I know this is film therapy from
gosh.
Fraser Crane,
Oh,
my favorite fictional therapist.
he's a pretty good one.
I
I'm
love
trying
you
to
know.
make it so we can. Whoa, was that green?
We were spotting our YouTube selves, and oh man, it was weird. Yeah,
Yeah,
Fraser Crane. Have you ever watched? Have you
I
ever?
love Frasier.
Frasier is so much better than Cheers. I don't care who you are out there. And again, I know this is the film therapy. We're gonna talk about TV.
Hmm.
Like I recently just rewatched all of Frasier.
I feel like your mic might not be on.
Oh.
It's not. Let's talk
Oh.
again.
Okay.
Let's say.
Let's back it up.
Let's back it up.
I said I'm listening. I love Frasier. There we go. And I recently rewatched all of Frasier, so you should take his catchphrase. I'm listening, or
I'm listening.
I'm watching. We're
I'm
watching.
watching.
We're watching.
No audio for both of us, Clint?
Oh man,
That would be really
we can
sad.
go in here and check this out.
Let's
Oh, there
see.
it is.
There it is. Thanks, Clint.
Oh,
Thanks for
maybe
helping
it was
us in the
just
chat.
me.
It was just that Jason's mic was not on. So we had to fix that problem, which
There you
we
go.
did.
Mm.
So, Jason, why don't you tell? I'm sure people know who you are, but why don't you tell people who you are just in case there are new watchers and they're like,
Oh,
who is this? What's
okay.
happening?
Well, I'm the co-host of DC All Access, which is DC Comics' official YouTube show. It's on every single weekday. It's a dream job, and I love it. And then also, I do a lot of stuff on my own. You might have seen me at youtube.com/Jalwin. I have a podcast called Geek History Lesson with Ashley Victoria Robinson, and I recently just fought her in the movie Trivia Schmodown.
Yay! We
Yes.
won't ruin it for you. So you can go watch that on
It was.
Collider.
I saw a lot of comments where people were like, "That was the best match of the Schmodown." Simply,
Wow.
well, yeah, they said that they liked how classy we were to each other, and they thought
Yes.
that the questions were very even, and they also said that they
Sure.
thought that both of our responses were funny, like the way we
Oh,
reacted
good.
to each other. So,
That's nice.
high praise. So,
So hopefully we'll be back to do it again sometime.
where you're
Do
going
it
against
again.
the Wolves of Steel very soon, I believe.
That's exciting, isn't it?
I
Not for
wouldn't.
not
I
for
would.
me.
I
Not
would.
for
I
me.
wouldn't want to go against the Wolves of Steel.
I
So.
wouldn't. I don't know why we're doing that. I didn't say yes. I feel like I should have to sign off too.
I feel like you guys were just like, we're brand new to this tournament. Screw it, give us the champions.
You know what? Might as well just go out in flames. That's what we're gonna do.
It's better to burn out than to live forever. What movie is that from? No.
See, again, we were talking off air about how like certain quotes, like I can do certain movie quotes, but the movie quotes that resonate with me are movies that wouldn't show up on the Schmodown. So I like
See,
gave
that
Jason a
one's from
quote.
Highlander. Yeah.
I gave Jason a quote like from Heartbreakers, and of
No.
course he's not going to know that because
No.
what man knows the movie Heartbreakers? Have you even seen it? Do you even know what it's about?
Isn't that the movie with Sigourney Weaver?
It is, and Jennifer
And don't they
Love
like?
Hewitt.
Don't they try to love Gene Hackman?
Yes, they are
See,
trying.
I know.
It's like Dirty Rotten
I've
Scoundrels
seen
with
the trailer.
women.
I've seen the trailer.
Yes.
See, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with women. If that was on the poster, I would see that movie.
Yeah.
I would see.
Oh
that
my
movie.
gosh, it's great.
Is it as good as Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
It is. I like it
You like it?
better.
Okay.
But it's a little long. It's a little on the long side. I will say that.
A little on the long side. That's a
Yeah.
great movie title.
Little on the long side. I could also go, that's what she said. All right. Anyways.
Have I sufficiently derailed your podcast?
Sure. Let's tell everyone how this works. This is a storytelling show where I ask the patient 3 questions. The first one is, what is a movie that inspires you? The second one is, what is a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it's a happy memory, perhaps it's a painful memory. And the third one is, what is a movie that helps you through difficult times? So I'm going to ask Jason those 3 questions. What I also like about these questions is you could come back at some point and do completely different answers because there's so many possibilities.
Just how your life changes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also started this show because I do suffer from depression, and I find that movies help me deal with that depression and cope. So I do want to let those out there that are having a hard time or have an emergency right now know that please see your doctor, call them, or go to the emergency room or call 911. Whatever you need to do to get help right now, please do that. I always like to have that disclaimer
I
just
think
in
that's awesome.
case.
By the way, I've been saying this to a couple of my friends. Oh, is this wrong? Oh, right here.
Just a little
All right, let's
higher.
go here. All right, here we go. I've been saying this to a couple of my friends that I think the idea of this podcast is brilliant. I think
Thank
it's
you.
fantastic. I think uh, it's such a smart idea that I'm like, how come somebody big hasn't stolen this from you already? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
oh, copyrights. But yeah, it's always good, and movies make us better. And if you need kind of help, talk to somebody. That's all I'd say. Talk to somebody. I've had a couple of friends that I've very recently actually, um, and say that they needed help very recently, and I didn't find out until after the fact, and I was like, you literally just call me anytime. So
Yeah,
you all have a friend out there, just call them, or go see a good movie, which is the idea of this podcast.
right.
Yeah.
So let's get started with our first question, which is, what is a movie or a film? If you decide to call them films, what's a
Hmm.
movie or a film that inspires you?
I think those terms are interchangeable. Movie,
Okay.
film, doesn't matter.
All right, good.
Um,
Some people get snobby about it.
my movie that inspires me. This was really tough. I almost picked Gladiator. Just to let you know, I almost picked
Hmm.
Gladiator because I love that movie. But I eventually settled on a movie that I love, that I think solid, that I think holds up, and I just love, and it inspires in twofold, and that is Star Trek: First Contact. Now, this is the second Star Trek movie of the Patrick Stewart, The Next
Uh-huh.
Generation. This is a movie where they're fighting this species called the Borg that are like half cybernetic, half human. And during this, the Borg time travel to the past to go back to when humanity made first contact with an alien species. It's
Yeah.
the year 2063. And the reason why I love that movie is because, one, it's solid. Like, Patrick Stewart gives one of his best performances as Captain Picard in it. Also, it's juxtaposed with Data, the android. Spends the entire movie being like, I want to be human, I want to be human. And he meets these Borg that are half human, half cybernetic, and they're like, oh, well, we got the perfect solution, man. And so he has to
Hmm.
deal with that. And then at the same time, you have the story of this man. They meet this figure called Zephyrin Cochrane, who is the man who meets the first alien. Um, and they tell him about his destiny, and he spends the entire movie being like, no, I don't want it, get it away from me. But
Hmm.
all these people from the future are like, no, you're the greatest man of human civilization, you are the man. And
You are Neo.
yeah, exactly. And he rebels against it, so it becomes this whole little thing where everybody in history is not the way we think they are, even though they
Hmm.
are these great people. And it is this neat thing where at the end of the movie, he of course accepts his destiny and does make first contact with aliens. But also, it's the idea of, it inspires me because it's like, oh man, like when that moment happens in that movie and the Jerry Goldsmith score like really ratchets up, like it is a movie that, like, it is a moment that brings me to near tears every
Hmm.
moment, because I'm just like, oh man, humanity, we could get there. See how close we are. We're only like 50 years away from this. Like, can we do it? I don't
Yeah.
think we can, but can we do it? And again, like, I actually rewatched it this year, and I was surprised by how well the editing and the cinematography held up. The
Hmm.
cinematography held up so much that I literally looked up the cinematographer and was like, "Can I hire this guy like right now?" Like, because it
Is he
just
still working?
uh
What is happening?
he last I checked, he's working in TV, so he's
Hmm.
not like a feature film cinematographer anymore. But like, man, I was surprised how this movie from 1996 felt like it was made last year.
Hmm.
And it is easily my favorite Star Trek movie, so it inspires me so much. If you have not seen Star Trek: First Contact, and you don't need to know anything about Star Trek
That's the
to what,
best part.
yes, you can jump.
Hmm.
It is, I would say, just like the Wrath of Khan. Whereas like the Wrath of Khan, I feel you can jump right into Wrath of Khan. You don't need to know anything about Star Trek. 2009 Star Trek. The best Star Trek movies are the ones where you don't need to know about Star Trek previously, and this is coming
Yeah.
from a Star Trek guy.
Oh,
But Star Trek: First Contact is my favorite Star Trek movie, and it has a climax that just inspires you in terms of filmmaking, inspires you in terms of music, inspires you towards of like, man, I hope humanity can get there. There you
that's pretty cool. I think we can get to certain. We're leveling up as we
That's a
advance
good term.
with
Nice.
technology, especially with Elon Musk and wanting to get to
Mm-hmm.
Mars and all that good stuff. And
Man, he would create Starfleet if he could. Elon Musk,
he's
100%.
insane,
Mm-hmm.
insane. But
Yeah.
I love it because it's just like, do it. Let's get this done. Let's do the Home Depot. Let's get this done. Elon Musk,
Mm-hmm.
because you can do it. Because I feel like we, in terms of like nationally, aren't don't have the money and or drive to do it anymore unless someone's like, we're gonna do that first, and we're like, nope, we're
Yep.
gonna do it first.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that we'll do it. I mean,
Yeah,
that's how we got to the
we're
moon.
in some sort of cold war against somebody. Yeah, yeah. Like the minute that China says we're going to Mars is the moment when we'll be like, oh no, we're going to Mars. We're us first.
I don't even know if they would like even say anything.
They
They'd
probably
probably
wouldn't.
just go there and then like be like, hey,
They'd wave.
greetings from Mars.
Here's a tweet from Mars. We're like, oh no.
I want to remind those that are watching that we do read the chat, and we do usually call out your comments and like use them in the show. But if we see that you're being disrespectful, we won't be doing that.
We ignore you.
So right now I'm not even looking at it, but maybe I'll check back in a few minutes, see if things have cleaned up a bit, and then we can get to your questions and stuff sometimes.
Ooh.
Or if you have specific comments about certain films that we're talking about, then we can incorporate those too. So yeah, we like those good comments.
We like the good comments.
Let's get to our second question. Which is, what is a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it is a happy memory. Perhaps it's a sad memory. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen right now.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Maybe.
All right. The question I want to know is has your audience ever heard your answers for these questions?
They have not.
Ooh, okay. See, that's like 10th or 25th episode, and I want to,
Okay.
I want to be here for this. I want to flip.
Okay, you want to be the all
Yeah,
right, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my answers that I've thought of. So
Okay.
I mean, not all of them.
I'm very curious about what your answers to these questions are too.
Okay. I definitely did this particular question for a solo episode of this.
Okay.
I went and saw, if you want to look back in my catalog of film therapy, I did one without a guest. That was just myself. That was about watching The Accountant and the emotions that came up while watching that, which is kind of a weird movie to say got me emotional.
No, I actually like that movie quite a bit. Yeah. So yeah.
So there you go. You can look back and find that. I think it's like a 3-minute video. It's nothing long, but.
All right, so movie that brings up a memory or a scene that brings up a memory. This again was a really tough one for me. But then this is a sad one for me. I don't know if I'll get sad during it, but the film is Nebraska by Alexander Payne. It's a 2013 film, black and white, and it's about Bruce Dern, who plays Woody Grant, and he gets the envelope that says like he's won. I can't remember the amount, $50,000, $20,000, something like that. And he's in North Dakota, and he starts walking to Lincoln, Nebraska. And of course, eventually his son, played by Will Forte, takes him on this journey to Nebraska. And you learn that the man is originally from Nebraska. So a lot of the movie is set in Nebraska.
Okay.
Now, they actually filmed this movie in Nebraska. I looked it up. They actually did.
And you are from Nebraska.
I am not.
Oh,
you're
from Kansas.
I am from Kansas, which is just south. Let me just tell you this: the difference.
He's really Clark Kent.
I grew up on a farm. It's in a lot of my bios that I'm secretly Clark Kent. A lot of the shots of Nebraska look exactly like Kansas. They look exactly the same. The small towns, and they go to these little tiny middle of nowhere towns. And this movie becomes this self journey for the son learning about his father, like all the stuff that he didn't learn about his father. Like there's an amazing scene in the cemetery where his mom starts talking about her high school sex life. And it's interesting because it opens up these possibilities. You're like, oh, I never thought about them as like real people. They were always my parents.
Right.
And the scene that always brings up a memory for me is there's a scene where, the guy that plays Saul from Better Call Saul, he's in the movie too. He's the other son. And Bob Odenkirk, thank you. Yes. Bob Odenkirk and Will Forte take their parents to Woody's homestead, the place he grew up. And it's this farm in the middle of nowhere, and it's a dilapidated building now. It's almost falling down. And so Bruce Dern walks the family through his old house. Now, Bruce Dern's character, Woody, is a character that doesn't talk very much. He only says like 5 words at the most in a sentence. And the farm that they pull up to looks so much like my grandfather's farm that it is spooky. or just means that there was only one architect in the Midwest in the 1920s,
Yes.
because I don't know what it is. But he walks through the house and he gives like these memories where he's like, oh, my father built this house. And then he walks up to his bedroom and he was like, and his mother's like, that's the bedroom where his brother died. And then, which me and my like, oh, that might explain a lot of stuff. And then the dad walks to the main bedroom and is like, I would have been whipped. My dad would have whipped me if I ever walked in this room. And then he just walks into the room. He's like, nobody's gonna whip me now. And it goes through the whole thing. And then the scene ends where he stands out in the field and he's looking at this cow pasture and he goes, Will Forte asks him, like, have you seen enough? And his dad goes, it's nothing but a bunch of wood and weeds. I'm good. And like, I'm like, oh, and and here's the thing. Midwestern farmers, or at least the ones that I know, excuse me, my nose itches for a second, weird second as I'm saying this. That's where I'm getting sad in my nose. Midwestern farmers are very strong silent types. They don't give emotion out. They don't. That's the reason why I love Kevin Costner's performance in Man of Steel, because I was like, oh, he has studied a Midwestern farmer. A Midwestern farmer would tell Superman, be quiet, keep it secret, keep it safe, like from Lord of the Rings.
See, a quote I wouldn't pick up
there
on.
you go. But man, that scene, like, I will tell you this, my current wife, it is the only.
Wait, I'm sorry, current wife.
Yes, because I have I have a harem of wives. No,
okay.
My current
we have
wife,
some sister wives.
my only wife. It is the only movie my wife has seen me cry in. Is Nebraska. It was in theaters, and it was when I saw that movie. And I don't know what it was, but it just activated this thing where I was like, I saw my grandfather in that scene, and I saw my grandfather's house, and I was like, and it kind of put the movie in perspective. Bring an example up. I like the movie Forrest Gump. I know a lot of people don't, but I like it because I saw it a lot when I was a child. But I find now it's a tough movie to watch for me, because it's one of those movies where you're just like, life is long, and life, you die. And like, I always find you get to the end of Forrest Gump, it's a bummer. You're just like, oh, we are all gonna die. Oh, And I feel that Nebraska kind of does the same thing for me. Like that scene in Nebraska is all of this, like, oh, your house that you grew up in is eventually just gonna be a pile of rubble.
Right.
It's gonna be meaningless. And when you put that into the perspective of your life, you're just like, oh wow. And that happens for everybody. And I think that's profound.
Thinking about that house made me think of this book called The Little Yellow House. Have you read this?
I don't know that
I
book.
think it's The Little Yellow House, where it like starts off on a farm. And it's just this cute little house, and then the big city comes in. Like you can see the
and they surround the yellow house.
They surround the yellow house.
Oh wow!
But the yellow house will like never leave, and so it's like all these tall buildings, and the yellow house is like, I can't see the seasons, I can't see the.
Oh, is it a children's book?
Yeah, it's written as from the perspective of the house. So it's like,
that sounds amazing.
I used to see the sun, and now I only see it at
There's
noon.
a little bit of a vibe of Up, where the factory builds up around them,
And then at the end, spoiler alert for the little yellow house, someone comes and like uplifts the yellow house and takes it back out into like now what the country is.
Oh,
so
that's
it can
nice.
now see the seasons and the sun and the kids playing.
But they don't kill the yellow house when they lift it up.
No,
like
they
you
take it all as one piece. Have you ever seen them do that? That's so
I
crazy.
Yeah.
I've only seen that once in San Jose. I grew up in San Jose. They took a house that was, the freeway was coming in, and they put it up and they like moved it exactly as it is. And then there's actually a house down the street from us that the same thing happened.
Oh, okay.
Because LAX was coming in, and they had to like move all these houses, and they were like, well, where do you want to live? And they're like, I guess this place.
So they supplanted like a lot of people's. I didn't know that. That's crazy. LA history, guys.
Maybe it was one that like was like, I'm not leaving. And finally they're like, what if we just like did this and moved it?
This is awesome. See, the best film therapy sessions, I feel like therapy sessions, you learn about Frasier, you learn about houses being moved, you learn about things that you don't know about, and yourself.
Anything else you'd like to say about Nebraska?
If you haven't seen Nebraska, it's great. And I love that Alexander Payne made them keep the movie in black and white. Like apparently
Hmm.
that was a big thing.
That's always a big thing. Who
Mhm.
had to fight? Mel Brooks had to fight for that for Young Frankenstein.
Mhm.
It's so interesting.
Yep, he got around that because he filmed on black and white film.
He was like, nope,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
you know.
But
Oh
this
yeah, I'll do it in color.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
The studio threatened to colorize it, and
Oh,
he refused. So I'm glad that they
that's
kept it
good.
black and white because it really helps make the movie like, ah, man, Nebraska's such a weird and just like off the wall. And Bruce Dern deserved an
Mhm.
Oscar for that movie, and he didn't get it.
Did he get nominated?
He was nominated.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Do you remember
movie.
who won?
I don't know, but I can look it up.
Okay.
I can look it up.
You can. You have the technology.
We do have the technology.
I always love that when it's like, oh, I didn't, win, and then I'm like, but who else did?
Oh, it is one
Okay.
of those weird things. Yeah, yeah.
So I am gonna look and see if there's anything in
Mhm.
the chat that can that is
Can fill up the
respectful
time.
at this time. Reminds me of Monster House. Tom, what exactly reminds you of Monster House? Just that the fact that like a house is a pile of rubble, because the house in Monster House was kind of like run down from what I remember. Do you remember Monster House?
I don't. What is
It's a
Monster House?
animated film. I feel like it came out, gosh,
Oh, wait.
2009 maybe. I have no idea.
I've seen the poster for it, and it's like
Uh-huh.
all black, and the monsters like the house actually has like
The
a
house
face.
is the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I remember the kid, like, what was weird was like in that movie, it's a PG movie, and the kid, I remember
The
like
kid dies.
living somewhere and like peeing into jars and whatever. And I was like, this is not a kid's movie.
He was Howard Hughes.
We don't have to do that, do we? Oh man.
I'm still looking for this list.
It's okay. We can move on. We can
I'm
come
there.
back to. Oh, you're
Oh,
there.
Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club beat Bruce
Okay.
Dern.
Okay.
He had a tough year. Bruce Dern was against Christian Bale for American Hustle. He was against Leonardo DiCaprio for Wolf of Wall Street, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. I know I said that wrong. For 12 Years a Slave. Man,
that's a stacked.
He had a tough year.
Stacked actor.
I still think he should have won.
All right, fair enough. Didn't see Dallas Buyers Club.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
There's a lot of movies that I missed. Although that may have came out after I went through like a really deep depression in like 2012 to like 2014, end of 2015. Like I didn't see movies. I was like, I'm done with movies. I don't want.
You're like,
I don't
I'm
want
out.
this. I don't care anymore. And yeah, I just let depression like wash over me.
What was your first movie back? Do you remember?
Gosh, I don't know. But the first thing that helped pull me out of that was actually coming on Movie Fights and being a fact checker.
Oh, cool.
Yes, fact checker. That was like, oh wait, maybe I can create content again and like I will be a part of this again.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So there you go. So even though you guys were doing an Oscar show at that time and I knew nothing about any of the movies that had come out, I was like, all right, I'll do this. I'll pretend. I did okay. Lonesome Dove. Hashtag Lonesome Dove.
I just rewatched that dude, by the way. Still holds up.
I saw it as a box set at Fry's.
Oh, you can buy it on Amazon. I know you can't watch it on Amazon Prime. You have to buy it, and I purchased it. Well worth the purchase.
Okay, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into our third question, which is, what is a film that helps you through difficult times?
This one was easy for me because I'm going to give you a quote. Let's see. I'm going to give you a quote from my movie. Let's see if you can figure out my movie.
Oh, great.
All right, here you go. This is the quote.
This is a guy's
movie. You want a movie that gets you through rough times, here you go. You go to a movie that says, life's like a movie, make your own ending. Do you know the movie that is from?
No.
It is the Muppet Movie.
Oh.
And it is the final.
I should have guessed that because I know you like that movie.
Oh, I love the Muppet Movie. The Muppet Movie is a movie that gets me through tough times. If life ever feels bad or just too much, you go to the Muppet Movie. I mean, how can you beat that ending where he says life is a movie, make your own ending? And like this whole time, Kermit is like searching to be famous. He wants to be famous. He wants to be famous. And everybody's like, oh, you can't go to Hollywood. You can't do this. And so he just gathers this whole group of friends that all believe in his dream. And then at the very end, they win. They win. They get their dream. Like they get their dream from, oh man, the Citizen Kane. Help me out. The actor who made Citizen Kane. I am Orson Welles. Thank you.
I'm like, what are we talking about?
I wanted to say,
because Orson Welles had said who made it, I would have said.
Orson
but then
Welles,
you went actor, and I'm like, actor?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What? I'm confused.
because Orson at the
Yes.
end of the movie he shows up to Orson Welles and Orson Welles gives him the rich and famous contract, which I think is amazing.
And Cloris Leachman is the secretary in that, which I
Yeah.
love.
There are so
She's
many
so great.
cameos
So
in that
many
movie.
great cameos.
Bob Hope is in that movie.
Joan
Richard
Rivers.
Pryor, Joan Rivers, Steve Martin is in the movie.
Dabney Coleman, is he in that one? Or is that a different one?
He's in a different one. He's
okay,
not in
he's
that
like
one.
probably Muppets Take
Yeah,
Manhattan.
yeah. Milton Berle is in that movie. There are so many like cameos in that movie, and that's another great thing. Mel Brooks is in that movie. And there's so many people that keep showing up, and that's another thing where you're just like, oh man, there's that, and also has, I would argue, the best songs of any movie musical of all time, because how do you beat Rainbow Connection? You can't.
That is a tough one to beat.
And they open their movie with it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then like the thing they do the crazy things like Kermit rides a bicycle, and you're like, how does he ride a bicycle? Which at the time
that was the hardest thing to do.
And they did it practically. And for the I remember
crazy.
I read it. I was reading up about this. Jim Henson refused to tell people how they did it. And
nice.
They had movie special effect people who couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out how they made Kermit ride a bicycle in that movie, and he refused to tell them. So yeah, like the Muppet movie, I think is amazing. So many great jokes, so many adult jokes. Like that's the thing that I think is missing too from nowadays is like these movies where they make kids movies for adults or the adults, because there's a ongoing joke in that movie where they talk about Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
And and so like everybody's like, oh, I'm lost, and like the another character will come into the scene and be like, have you tried Hare Krishna? And you're like, what? Like no kid's gonna get that joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, Muppet movie, Dr. Teeth and the Mayhem, Kermit finds his dreams. When a character gets lost in that movie, other characters find him because they read the script of the movie.
I always love that. Turn to this page. You'll find him there.
Yeah, there's one point where like one character, Dr. Teeth, is like, where'd you come from? And they hand him the script, and so he just reads the script to catch up where they are. Yeah, I don't know. Like the Muppet movie, Rainbow Connection, and Life is a Movie, Make Your Own Ending. That movie immensely inspires, and I think it's another one it still holds up for a movie that was made in the mid 70s. It's still like you could have made it yesterday.
I always wondered why Animal grew so large at the end. Like, why did that happen?
He drank the concoction that Beaker made. Yeah, that's right. Because his secret lab is in the old West Town.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. There you go.
But then
I'm a
how
Muppet
does he
movie
get back
aficionado.
like to his regular size?
It wears off.
Okay, so it's just a few minutes.
Yeah, it's a temporary thing. I think. I'm putting that.
I want to see the Muppets in like with the Avengers somehow, so we can have Animal get large, be Hulk size.
I'm surprised the Muppets haven't made a superhero movie.
Well, didn't they? Well, no, they made a Star Wars one with the Muppet Muppet babies.
Yeah, but they also made Muppets in Space, which was terrible.
Oh yeah.
That's the sad thing about it is that of all the Muppet movies, there's only two good ones in my opinion. I'm not a Muppet Treasure Island fan. I'm not a Muppet Christmas Carol fan.
Oh, I do like Christmas Carol. It's not my favorite Christmas Carol, but I do like it. I like Rizzo. And then, so your favorite is Muppet Movie, and then the current one, or Muppet Movie and Muppets Take Manhattan?
I would say Muppet Movie and the Muppets are the best two.
Okay, and the Muppets is the most. Not the most wanted, which was the recent one, but the one right before that.
Yeah, because that's the Jason Segel one.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem I like parts of the Christmas Carol because it has Michael Caine, and I like Treasure Island because it has Tim Curry. But my problem is that you can't make a Muppets movie that doesn't star the Muppets. It has Kermit has to be the main character. And if he's not the main character, it's not a Muppets movie to me. So it has to be about the Muppets. I don't like it when you introduce this human character that's actually the lead.
Yeah. Like one of them should have been Scrooge, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like Gonzo
or somebody, or even Fozzie. Like one of them should have been Scrooge. Like, and then the movie would have worked better. Or even Treasure Island. Like Kermit should have been the kid in Treasure Island, not the sea captain. You know, and then you make one of them. You can make the human the villain. That's fine because humans are always the villain in Muppet movies. But like, so Tim Curry as Long John Silver is fine. But like Kermit should have been the little kid that's tricked by Long John Silver.
Got it.
And then it takes on a different thing. So that's the Muppet movie. The Muppets are the stars of their own movies, and that's why they work. And also, like, who doesn't like to see a piece of felt get their dreams come true? Right?
Good
So there you
question.
go.
I definitely want to see Felt have some dreams come true.
Were these
I
good
have some
choices? I don't
Felt.
know. I don't
They are
know.
great
They're very
choices.
off the wall. Like,
I like it.
I went for feel good choices, like the choices that
Mhm.
actually affected me instead of like,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Instead of on the surface trying to keep it safe.
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
know.
Well, I could have, like I said, I could have picked Gladiator for my Inspire because Gladiator is the movie
Mhm.
that first made me realize that, like, oh, people make movies. It was the first one, and I think that film is really
Yeah.
solid. But then I was like, yeah, but like, there's gonna be a certain point where I just stop talking about Gladiator. Like, but First Contact, I can talk for
Yeah.
hours. All these movies I could talk about for hours.
I don't know which movie was the one that first made me realize people make movies, but it was definitely in high school when I
Mhm.
started understanding that it was a business and like
Yeah.
wanting to be part of that
Mhm.
business in some way. And like at the time, I was like, I want to be a director, of course. Like looking
Everyone
at it
does.
now, I'd
Yeah.
be like, there's no way that would happen.
Uh,
Oh, so it's great when you have like certain experiences in
mhm.
Hollywood too. Like the first time I was on set with a movie that I had worked on like in way pre-production before anyone else was on it. And then was gone because I was at school. And
Mhm.
so then during like one of the shoot days, the guys were like, why don't you come up and like check out what we're
Oh,
doing?
that's
I was
cool.
like, awesome, I'm gonna do that. And then like I get on set, it's like, who are you? Who are you? I was like, who are you? I was here first. Like I just felt like so out of place. Like, who are all these people being rude?
And then you realize, and then you realize, like, oh, that's a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of waiting.
It is a lot of waiting.
That's why I love that thing where people think there's still people out there that still think that movies take real time to film. Like, if a movie's 2 hours, it only
takes
takes
2
2 hours
hours
to
to
make
film
it.
it. Sweet. That's amazing.
They're like, nope, not at all. So,
What is
yeah.
it? Is it an hour for every minute minimum? 10 hours for every minute? I forget what it is. 100 hours for every minute? I don't
I
know.
always thought it was like 10 hours for 6 pages.
Okay.
Yeah. Is
So
the
that
idea.
would be like a minimum
Yeah.
or about like
Yeah. So
3 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. All right. Well, we got that. We got that. Very good. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
being on the
you're
show.
welcome.
That's pretty much it, guys.
Can we bring it back to Frasier somehow? I don't
Let's
know.
talk back about Frasier. How would Frasier close up the show?
Listening.
So thank you so much for being on Film Therapy
Thank you
with
for
me,
having me.
Jason. Where can the patients that are watching this find you?
You can find everything I do at Jawin, JWIIN, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.com/Jawin, where we do all kinds of like DC superhero show theories and recaps and stuff like that. And then one of my favorite things that I do is Geek History Lesson. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. It's where I teach you, me and Ashley Victoria Robinson, like I teach you about a character in pop culture. And it's a lot of fun.
And I am one of the students of the Mind University.
Yes,
That's
Brianna was
what
one of the
they,
very first ones. I loved it.
that's what they say. And you can also find them on patreon.com/Jawin.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because we do that. And we have the Geek History Lesson Extra, where it's just like us more. So that's where we support all this stuff. So yeah, we just had Christian Harloff on for History of the Sith, and then next week is Assassin's Creed. So
I'm excited, and I'm definitely need to catch up. I forget what I left off on, but it's like within the last few weeks, and I'm like, I gotta learn all this.
It's fine.
This is how I know all of my street cred of comic books comes from you guys, because I've only read one comic ever. Which just was like a few weeks ago, which is Why the Last Man, which I really liked. I need to like pick up the next series of it because I have the first graphic novel.
Gird yourself for the ending.
Great.
All right, there you go. Actually, I consider that to be a high compliment, because I had another person tell me that they moved in with a comic book writer. The roommate was a comic book writer, and they said that they started listening to our podcast simply for the fact so they'd have something to talk about with their roommate, so they could like see like they were in the know. And I was like, that is a supreme compliment.
It's not, and I am very honest about it. Like I say to people, like, I don't read comics, but I know what you're talking about because I listen to this show and it tells me what you're talking about. And I like that better than reading Wikipedia, because then it won't resonate with me.
Yeah.
I'm an audio
person. You need somebody to teach it to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
kinda
there you
it is.
go. There
And
you go. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Movies. Also in the South Bay of Los Angeles, hanging out.
Just around the South Bay. Any grocery stores that they should check you out at?
The Ralph's Fresh Fair is
Oh, the
always a good
Ralphs
place.
in the South Bay. You're gonna see her.
I will be there all the time. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time, and we're on vacation for a few weeks, so we won't see you till January.
you can
Happy
only-
New Year!
Happy New Year. You can only
Merry
see her at the
Christmas.
Ralphs
That's right.
in the South Bay.
Happy Hanukkah and
Happy
happy
all
Kwanzaa.
holidays.
All
Happy Life
holidays.
Day, you Star Wars fans.
There you go.
There you go.
Bye. 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 Bye.